Meantime, Ford CEO Jim Farley is warning of chaos in the auto industry because of those tariffs. And GM CEO Mary Barra said that she expects to be able to mitigate the impact of up to 50% of the potential costs of the tariffs. Joining us right now to talk about the impact on the auto sector is Dan Levy. He's Barclays senior equity research analyst. And Dan, this idea of chaos, you feel for Jim Farley. I heard Jim Cramer talking about this and agree with him completely. This is a guy who bought into the idea of NAFTA 2.0. That was President Trump, his plan in the last administration that was put forth. They bought into that, set up their plants accordingly, and now they're kind of getting the rug yanked out from under them.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Becky, for having me. It is chaotic because you have to just put the auto sector in context to, what U.S. versus Mexico and Canada manufacturing is. Mexico and Canada account for roughly a third of North America auto production. They account for roughly 25% of the vehicles that are produced in the U.S. or vehicles that are sold in the U.S. And perhaps more importantly, it's probably over half of the parts. And so when you think about the potential for tariffs, this basically wipes out group profit for each of the D3, creates a lot of inflation, and you could easily see a massive supply shock because of the ripple through effect to all the smaller part suppliers in the system.
The likelihood of the tariffs being imposed at this point, what do you think?
25% tariffs just seems way too disruptive. And so even if it's there for a little bit, it probably won't stick. I think the better question is if there's a more lasting sort of smaller tariff of even, say, 5%, or if they change content requirements that require pushing content to the U.S., that's the better question. And even that would be inflationary and have an impact.
Are any of the big three automakers or other automakers behind them changing where they make their products, changing? I mean, it's harder to change the supply chain overall for the parts and other issues along those lines. But the goal of this is not only to raise money from the Trump administration's perspective, but also to try and increase production in the United States. Are any of them moving towards something like that?
Well, no, not yet, because the lead time on any changes is anywhere from 12 to 24 months. There's a very long lead time. It's very capital intense. And so naturally, the automakers aren't really going to do anything until they know a firm direction on policy. There's small things they can do in the near term, pivoting production or changing some near term part sourcing, but deeper changes, that's 12 to 24 months and a lot of capital required.
So Mary Barra says she thinks she can mitigate up to 50% of this. How does she do that, and do you think she's effective?
Well, that's 50%, right? There's another 50% that can't be mitigated. Yeah. I think the point is just remember, automakers and the entire auto industry as a whole is a very tight margin industry, right? We're talking about mid to, at best, high single-digit margins for automakers. Part suppliers is anywhere from low single-digit margins to low double digits. Really, there's not a lot of margin here. So there is near-term steps that you can take to best mitigate actions, but to really create a healthy industry, it requires deeper changes.
But your ratings on these companies, equal weight for Ford, for Rivian, for Tesla. You've got an overweight on shares of General Motors. So do you not think that this is going to come to fruition, the tariffs?
Yeah, but we think long term there won't be 25% tariffs. I think we're waiting to see what happens with content requirements. That's potentially a change. The irony here is that the U.S. sales market is very healthy. Pricing power is very strong. You're seeing, pretty healthy volumes. Mix is very good. GM has been putting up record profit for the last, call it 4 years. This is going to be a fifth straight year of $14 billion plus profit. These are results they never did pre-COVID. And so our point is the sustainability of these earnings is something that deserves a better stock price.